go back and so welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about the 10 steps to take after the job interview. I'm Stacy Denemke with NutritionJobs, and I'm delighted that you are here. And thank you, all of you who came last week, where we got to interview Nicole Vance of Application Insider, and she talked all about how to create a winning resume for the dietetic internship application, which not everybody is an applicant, but a lot of us still have to look at some of those elements to a resume that really help it pop. And she came out with some three great ideas that I think were super important and are parallel with what I like to teach. The one takeaway that I had was really trying to use those action verbs at the beginning of every one of your bullet points in your work experience. So trying to stay away from the word like assisted or participated in or managed you can use sometimes, but oftentimes doesn't carry as much punch as executed or implemented or campaigned, or there's a lot of different action verbs. And if you go to that video back over on YouTube, and you can check it out if you didn't get to watch it. It has a list of action verbs that you can download as well. And then Nicole Vance from Application Insider has lots of other great freebies on her website as well. You can check it out over there. But today we're going to talk about the 10 steps to take after a job interview. First of all, amazing that you had a job interview. That is fantastic. And now you've got to get back to your desk and do a little bit more work. And so that's what I'm going to talk about here. And just going the extra mile sometimes is what can help you get to the next stage. So the first thing is congratulate yourself, right? So you did the interview, you got the interview first, I should say, and then you did the interview, and that's amazing. So take the time to congratulate yourself. Matthew Landry has a campaign going right now called the Good News Folder. So having that interview can go into your Good News folder or a work journal success, whatever it might be. So congratulations on having your resume stand out, your cover letter stand out such that you got the interview. So fantastic. That is really good. So take a moment to congratulate yourself. And then you send the thank you note. You already know how to do this. You already know that you should do this. You definitely should do this. Sometimes I think there's a few ways to get around this, because when you come back from the interview, whether you just are in your house doing a virtual interview or whether you are going to a physical interview, you come back and you put a lot of effort into that interview. Sometimes interviews can last several hours depending on what phase you are in the interview process. So I think one way you can get ahead of this is to start crafting whatever you need to have ahead of going into that interview, ready to write this thank you note. So for example, if you're going to write a physical thank you note, address the envelope right away. So take out the envelope before you go in there, when you're excited, when you are sort of energized and you've got a lot of extra oomph ready to go to talk to this person, this hiring manager. Put on there your return address and put on their mailing address on the outside, put a stamp on it if you're going to send a snail mail. And then with the thank you note, then we've got a whole formula for how to write a thank you note. If you don't have that, I'll put a link into how to create the thank you note, but get that all ready to go in your mind. You can have some draftings of, why you're the perfect fit and thank you for this, and any sort of personal elements about why you really enjoyed meeting a person or that you appreciated the time that they spent with you, whatever it might be. Get that sort of ready to go in your mind. And then when you're ready to send it, it just a little bit less effort. So same thing goes for an email. You can do the exact same thing for that email. Start crafting what that email is going to look like. Dear so-and-so, thank you so much for the time that you spent. I am I believe that I could, do an excellent job, and my background in this, just sort of reiterating again what it is about you, how you can be of service for this position. And we'll do a separate event on how to write a thank you note, because I think it's very, very important. It's another opportunity not to be missed to help you show why you are the best fit for that job. It's just one more opportunity that hopefully you'll get into the next running for another interview, or to actually get the job offer and start working on salary negotiation. So that is important. All right, the next one is reflect, right? So we're always sort of in the idea that we want to get the job. We really want the job. We want them to love us, to think that our skills are amazing, to think that we add value, to think that we are super competent, technically competent, or have some foundation skills that are going to be perfect for that job. But take a moment to actually think, is this the job for me? Is this the right place for me? Is this going to be the right fit? Do I like the company culture? Do I like what I've seen as far as what the scope of the job is going to be? Do I like what the my coworkers might be? Do I like the work environment? Is it remote? Is it in person, or is it a hybrid? Am I traveling or am I not traveling? Think about and reflect, is this the right position for me? It's okay to have gone through this whole process of being super excited about a job. You craft and tailor your resume for this position. You make a beautiful cover letter. You then go and spend 2 hours plus travel. If it's an in-person interview, and then come out of it and go, I don't think I really like this job. I don't think this is the right one for me. Even if there's nothing else on the horizon, you don't want to go into a job that's going to be miserable or maybe suboptimal. There might be situations where you want to take that on and do that. But for the most part, there are a lot of jobs for dietitians. It just depends what area you focus and whether it's a full-time job, part-time job, or you could always have a side hustle on there. So you don't have to always sacrifice your professional passion for a job. There are jobs out there. So, give that some thought and think about, is this really the right job for me? Which goes in line with, is this a good fit? Are my skills, am I going to be successful? Right. So when we're talking about interviewing, it's a process of learning from the employer. It's a process of learning about yourself and what you can bring to this position. What can you bring to this company? The company wants to make money and provide a service. You want to make money and provide your service. So you want to make sure that there is alignment there. Is that a good fit? Is this a good fit for you? It's, looking at the job description sometimes will give you some information about that. Oftentimes, you don't really get a full understanding of what the scope of the job is and what the work environment is going to be until you actually meet with somebody there. And they give some more color to the position. They give some more color to what the work environment is going to be. But bottom line is, you want to be successful in a job, right? You want to be able to learn success from the perspective of, what am I learning? How am I furthering my career goals? How am I being able to nurture my career ambitions? So think about it from that perspective. How am I going to be successful? And how am I going to be graded to be deemed successful? So you have your own expertise and your own level of success that you want to achieve. But then also the company is going to be grading you. And is that a good fit? Are you going to be successful in their mind? Are you going to have the support that you need to be successful? So consider it from that perspective. I didn't say, but if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A. You can do either one. I'll take a look at those as they come up. I would love to hear what questions you have or what obstacles come up for you and how you're feeling about interviewing in general. So feel free to do that. I'd love to take your conversations that we can talk about. Which brings us to compensation. It's a conversation that nobody wants to have. We just want to assume that they're going to overpay you and give you way too much time off and all kinds of tuition expenses paid for. Not always the case, especially in clinical or long-term care. Sometimes it can be. You can get a nice compensation that you weren't expecting anyway. But I put the word in here as compensation versus like salary negotiation or salary, because compensation is not just the salary. It is not just the paycheck. It is not just what you net in your bank account. The compensation can be a variety of things. So for example, if it's a full-time or mostly full-time job and you get benefits, of course, that is a huge amount of area for compensation. So it could be health benefits, it could be vision, it could be dental, it could be medical. Other compensation could be they contribute to a 401k for you. There's lots of other areas in which they can provide compensation. They might also, you might also think that they're giving you a regular salary. Maybe it's $40 an hour, $35 an hour, but you're only having to work 4 days a week. And so that's great, right? So it's a good number, and you're not having to spend 5 days a week, 12-hour days or whatever it might be. So the number of days that you work for maybe an inflated hourly rate is good. If you are wanting to be part-time, if you want to be 20 hours, which is usually 30 hours is the in the US is the limit for when you can be eligible for additional benefits. They call them benefits, whether it's health insurance or tuition reimbursement or 401k matching, whatever it might be. That if you're under that, are you getting a boost for that? Usually the factor is 1.3, sometimes 1.4 hourly rate. You're going to see a boost because of that. And making sure that you have fallback, that you have the ability to have health insurance, maybe through your partner or outside of that, or if you're younger with your parents still. So just consider what compensation is. I think the other element is what time do they allow you to have time off for continuing education? Do they pay for continuing education? Do they pay for tuition reimbursement? Do they allow you to go to the Fancy conference once a year? So and what's included in that? Is it just the tuition, or is it tuition plus a few expenses, maybe hotel? And so see what that might be. Training is another really big element of compensation, and so you want to make sure that you're, again, it always goes back to how are you going to be successful in your job. And by being successful, you've got to have the resources to be able to do your job well and to understand what you need to do your job well. So making sure you have training. So I know oftentimes in long-term care it's usually understaffed, and so just make sure that you can write into, when you are doing your salary negotiation, once you receive the offer, which is when you do the negotiation, then you can make sure that you're getting the support that you need. You can ask for a week's training. Monday might look different than a Friday in long-term care, or a Wednesday. Maybe there's different days for inventory, or different days for different ancillary services that are provided that impact the way that you're going to provide treatment or provide your services as a dietitian. So think about that in terms of compensation. So those are like sort of the general ideas of considering compensation in addition to your hourly rate. I know that the current hourly rate for dietitians, based on the salary survey they just came out from 2021, is a measly $22 per hour, which is unacceptable. So keep moving in boosting our income any way that we can do that. How we can negotiate, we'll talk about that in maybe a different episode as well. So, okay, any questions coming through? Okay, great. All right, so here's the obvious one. Prepare for the interview number 2 or number 3 or number 4, wherever you're at in the process. And sometimes you may know what that next interview is going to look like. Sometimes the subsequent ones after interview number 1 are juicy and difficult. You might be get higher up in the management chain, and they're going to ask you different kinds of questions. They're going to ask you a little bit more about yourself and how you work. You might get more behavioral questions as you get higher up in management. They want to know more about the classic question. So tell me about yourself, or tell me about why you want to work for our company. Tell me about your past experience that makes you the best candidate for this position. Like those are those questions that they're coming, and you've practiced them, and so you're ready to deliver them, but they can take you aback if you have not prepared. So that is why this is a super important slide. What you do for that first interview sometimes is taking care of the nuts and bolts. They give you an idea of what the scope of the job is. You can talk about your background and how you align with that job. You've had expertise in parenteral enteral nutrition, or you've done gestational diabetes education, or whatever it might be, that you sort of have the background for it. And now they want to know how you're going to work with a team. Are you going to be a team player? Are you going to be able to work independently? Are you going to be able to contribute? Are you going to add value? Of course you are, but you've got to be prepared to answer those questions with the people that might seem a little more intimidating. And so we talked about this in a previous one as well, that you can prepare for interviews by preparing your success stories. And we'll do another one on this too, but thinking about how a past situation has prepared you for demonstrating a skill. So you can think about maybe past mistake that you grew from, and how that skill was translated into something that you now possess, whether it's team building, whether it's teamwork, critical problem solving, organization, all kinds of foundation skills, or what they call it, transferable skills, whatever kind of skill, in addition to understanding how to calculate an enteral tube feeding formula. So that, there's a lot of those types of questions that are going to come up that you can prepare for. And I highly recommend that you practice them out loud, whether it's to video or to your phone as a voice memo, preparing yourself for when to pause, when to speed up, the inflection, and really focusing on the outcome. And so we've talked about, when you're answering these types of questions where they say, tell me about a time when you made a mistake and you recovered from that mistake. And so you're going to think about a situation, you're going to have what's called your success story. So you're going to set up a situation where you can demonstrate what happened and how you were able to overcome and improve, and how you responded to that problem. And then you can show like what the intervention was or how you solved that problem, and then show the outcome. So that's the acronym SHOW, SHO, situation, how, and outcome. So really spend your time, not too much on the setup, not too much on how you solved it, but really spend a good chunk of time, at least a third of your time, in telling the story, talking about what the outcome was. So that's preparing for interview number 2. Just get ready for some big bosses coming up. The next element is being patient. And this is difficult. If you've ever talked to hiring managers, they're always crazy busy. Oftentimes they're trying to do multiple jobs within their one title. This may be a hiring manager, it may be a dietitian, it may be somebody in HR, it may be somebody in the food service department. It just really depends. But know that most people aren't sitting around in their job like super duper organized and have lots of fluff time. They're short staffed potentially. They're trying to figure out this job description. There's a lot that goes into a company that has not yet filled this position. And so be patient with them. You're not going to have a word, or you're not going to have information usually within that first day or 24 hours or 48 hours. That's unusual. So you have to be a little bit patient there. It's a really hard element of the process, but think about when it's time to call back, when you want to do that. If they, at the end of the interview, have said to you, we will interview a few more candidates, you're in the running, but we need to interview a few more people, that may or may not be true. And they said, we will get back to you at the end of the week. Let's say it's Tuesday, you interviewed, and they get back to you at the end of the week. That usually means Friday. It could actually mean Monday, that maybe they have some interviews on Friday and Monday. So if you don't hear from them by Monday, then you can check in with them on Tuesday. So 7 days, total 7 days, or 5 business days total have passed, and then you can connect with them. So I think that is reasonable. And then however you've been communicating is how you want to continue communicating. So if you've been communicating by text, right, then that's how you're going to communicate with them. If you've been communicating by email, then do it that way, or by telephone. Probably email first and then telephone, but definitely don't give up. Don't feel anxious about it. It's all business. It's all part of the process. All righty. All right, so here's what can happen oftentimes is they say, you were fantastic. We really, really thought you were good, and we really appreciate the what you brought to this interview process, but we've gone with somebody else. Like, okay, I get it. And maybe you can get some feedback from them or some advice on how you can better prepare for the next time you interview, or better prepare for a position like this because it was your dream job and you still don't want to give up on it. Ask in a friendly way, ask in a way that you're not taking too much of their time, but you're getting some, you can either call it feedback or advice. I think advice is always good. Feedback is fine too, but sometimes that puts people in a awkward position of having to critique you. But if you ask for advice, sometimes that can seem a little less personal and a little more general. They might say, well, we think that you were awesome, but we're looking for a candidate who is more adept at lactation consulting. Okay, great. So now you know that your experience did not include lactation consulting, even though the position never said it needed that. And that's how you can prepare for this opportunity in the future. So stay connected to this company, stay connected to this recruiter, stay connected to the dietitians that were involved in the hiring process. Again, thank them for that first or second interview. and stay connected and let them know that you're very, very interested in working for their company. You love their company, you love what they're doing, and you think you could be a good fit. You're going to, get back to work and prepare yourself for new opportunities or other opportunities that present themselves to you, and hopefully that will benefit you in the future. Just let them know that, and you can check in with them. You can follow their company. You can follow them on LinkedIn. You can follow them on their company career page to see what positions they're posting. You can check in maybe every 6 months with the hiring person, the dietitian that you worked with, or networking with anybody. Make sure you connect with the hiring manager on LinkedIn so they can see the work that you're doing and you can see the work that they're doing related to that position or related to that company. So just stay connected. I hear so many stories from people that have really great experience and didn't get the job, love the company, and sure enough they maintained a great relationship after that interview, and sure enough the recruiter called that person up again 6 months, 12 months later and said, we have an even better job, are you interested in this position? And so then they take off on the process again. So you just never know. And sort of in line with the same idea that sometimes companies have what are called the job notification list. For larger companies, this is often the case, even small ones. So you can ask to be on this notification list and you'll get email updates about jobs that they have. You might fit for them. You might have some elements of your background that are perfect fit, maybe some that need a little more work to get to that point. But there's always something that you can maybe be in the running for. So stay and ask to be on the job notification list. You can ask the hiring manager about this. If they have one, you can ask, do you have one? And if they do, then they'll let you know. Someone chimed in to say patience is a virtue. It is, right? Okay, so I have an upcoming instant makeover workshop that I would love for you to attend. It is next Wednesday on November the 3rd, and we will be walking through both your resume and your LinkedIn profile and getting it really spiffy. We'll also spend some time on job interviewing techniques, how you can craft your success story circles, and really preparing you for the job. We call it instant makeover because we're all sitting down together virtually and working on your resume. And it gets done. Crafting your resume and getting it to the point where you can feel really proud of your accomplishments. You've done a great job describing your accomplishments. It's all documented on your resume, and that's translated over to your LinkedIn profile. And you're really presenting yourself in a way that shows that you can add value for this position, for any other position, for jobs, for collaborations, trying to land a client, whatever it might be, or a speaking engagement. It really shows. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile are all dynamic documents. They're always changing, always need to be updated. And so this is a great way to get to the elements that you need to have a modern resume that gets selected for a job interview. Like that's the goal, right? Is to get a job interview or to get that pitch interview, to be able to sit down with somebody and have these conversations. So we are open for enrollment. It begins next Wednesday, and we have a lot of fun in there together. We have a big juicy workbook, and we go through it together, and it's really, really helpful. So I hope you can join us for that. You can look on my website, NutritionJobs, and the instant makeover course is right up there on the top. And so hopefully you can join us for that. And I always have this LinkedIn profile checklist available for you. And you can look on my website or over on Instagram. You can find it there. Do follow me on Instagram. Do follow me over on YouTube, because this is where, hello, YouTubers, this is where this will live as it's recorded. And do subscribe, and hopefully you can watch and learn. Always happy to hear all your amazing questions. And it always helps create the content for you and get guests that also can create some really fantastic content to help you be successful in your career. So connect with me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you can find me. We're all over the place. So thank you so much for joining today. And let's see if there's any more questions in the chat. Oh, wait, there's one more question in the Q&A. Let me just add this one in there. The question was, do you need to present yourself differently, virtual versus in-person interview? And I always recommend, when you're doing a virtual interview, always still get dressed I think even putting on pants, not just Lululemon slacks, but to have something in case you have to stand up and go get a document, or you're talking to them. They're not always assuming that you're just going to be sitting at the desk. You just never know. So I think that's really important. Your background is important. Just to consider when you're doing a virtual event, you can always put up a blurred background if you've got limited space in your house where you're doing the virtual interview. If you're going in person, my biggest recommendation is make sure you get there on time, not too early. Don't be weird and get there 30 minutes early. Get there about 10 minutes early so that you're ready, you're prepared, and start doing your deep breathing. Remember, we talked about this before on an Instagram reel. So check that one out. That is the relaxation. It is instant and it really works. And it's the double inhale. So you breathe in and then do a little sip again. And then exhale slowly, get that one all out. Just do a few of those, and that will really brighten up your mentation and cognition, ready to go for the interview so that you're super successful. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. Check us out on both LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Bye for now.